making our religion safe again through the Trinity of Change. Start your own chapter of Kingdom Hall of Happy Apostates with new chapters starting as low as $19.14 a month. JW Crisis answers the question everybody wants to know. Are ex-JWs heathen, sex, and drug addicts? New light from JW Crisis.
Hello guys, Gilbert, JW Crisis here. Hey, I wanted to talk about that topic, are Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, heathen, sex, and drug addicts. That's what Watchtower wants you to believe. It's used to help keep people captive. It comes back even to the days of Russell, where they say that once you stop studying studies in the scriptures, you go back to your old ways, demonic, worldly ways. And I think there's a little reference here. I know it's not the best, but here's a reference of an old mag. Let me see here. And it says, outside the Christian congregation, what alternative organization is there? Only Satan's organization. So the whole idea is that once you leave, you're doing very bad things. It'd be very interesting to talk to different individuals, because in my experience, it's been the other way around. I don't want to go into detail, but my sins were greater when I was a Jehovah's Witness than after I left. Because after I left, it really did change. When you have freedom, it makes a huge difference. And I don't know, everyone is different. But I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted to bring up this clip. It's about 1 minute clip. It's an old movie. Right now they're doing TV versions of it and new video movies of it called Pride and Prejudice. But there's a clip from the 1940 black and white version. I was 14 years old when I started working at the video store, about 2-3 months before I turned 14, and before I turned 15. And I had a job back there, and we used to rent out the videos, no computers, just time cards, Betamax, VHS. Man, that dates me. And I found this video, and man, I watch it all the time, and there's a clip in there that really affected me when I was really young. And I want to show it to you, and we're going to talk about it, okay? So let me just show it to you. Bear with me. I think you're going to like it, and we're going to discuss whether ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are heathen, sex, and drug addicts.
And now may I ask you a question, Mr. Darcy?
By all means.
What would you think of a man who had everything the world has to offer? Birth, breeding, wealth, good looks, even charm when he chose to exercise it. What would be your opinion of a man with such gifts who refused to accept an introduction to another man who was poor and of no consequence?
I should reserve my opinion until I knew the circumstances of the particular case.
Do you suppose the gentleman would reveal those circumstances if he were asked?
No. A gentleman does not have to explain his actions. He expects people to give him credit for being a man of honor and integrity. And now, if you will excuse me, I will retrieve the arrows. No. A gentleman does not have to explain his actions. He expects people to give him credit for being a man of honor and integrity. And now, if you will excuse me, I will retrieve the arrows.
Did you notice how Darcy says that a gentleman doesn't need to tell people that he's an honorable or a man of integrity? He just is. And it's true, because Jesus even says that from the abundance of the heart speaks the mouth. When you go on YouTube and you listen to different people, you'll just know that they are. You can hear it in their voice. You could hear it in their message. James 2:19, I always say it, James 2:19. Do you believe there's one God, and yet the demons believe? You do quite well, and yet the demons believe and they tremble. Even the demons believe in God, and they're afraid. But you're not afraid. If God were to come down, Jesus were to come down, you'd be happy. But the demons would be afraid. And so same thing happens in your life. When you do what is right, then people that are bad or have bad intentions will naturally push themselves, alienate themselves from you. You know, it's a natural occurrence. You don't have to tell people that you're a just person or you're a man of integrity. You just do it, and people of like manner will gravitate towards you, and people who have different different ideas, they'll go flee from you. Now, in this clip that we saw, it was really interesting because you see, no matter what Darcy, the guy, did, he couldn't make that girl Elizabeth happy. See, she loved him, but she put him in such a high pedestal, or the bar was so high, that he couldn't make the damn girl happy. Nothing he could do in his personal life would make that woman happy. And yet he was a just man, he was an honorable man. And she mentioned, he goes, what about that other guy, the one in question, that he had shunned, because he had shunned him publicly. Well, basically, she introduced him. He goes, hey, Darcy, I want you to meet this guy. And he's like, yeah, we don't talk. And so she was on this, she was perplexed, but she was kind of like on the side of this very charming dude. But the charming dude was like a child molester, but he was also a womanizer. He would sleep with women like rags, use them, and then throw them away. And get another woman, sleep with her, and then throw her away. And then he would bribe them. He would take money from them. He would extort money from these women. Darcy knew, and he wasn't telling everybody what kind of a scumbag this guy was, but he had slept with his little sister. He fought back, and he won on a legal battle, but he still had to pay the bribe, and he still had to suffer the humiliation and the hurt that this man caused in his little sister. But you see, to Elizabeth, he was a nice guy. You can sleep around with women, use them and abuse them, have sex with them, and never have any intention of marrying them. Just take their money. But then they would say, oh, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy. But this man, Darcy, she always was nitpicking him. She was nitpicking him to the point where he couldn't do any more to prove his loyalty, to prove his love, and to prove that he was an honorable and a good man. And so that's what he says. I can't. He went in, and he just went and walked away and got the arrows, like you saw in the clip. And it's really telling, because you see, Jehovah's Witnesses, when they leave, they're upright men and women. They don't need to go and tell everybody that they are. They just are. And in the process of leaving Watchtower, it's kind of like Darcy. They realize that there's still a lot of things that they need to change. Yes, they're honorable people. Yes, they're men and women of integrity. But Darcy had a lot of personal baggage. And it was that girl that he fell in love with, Elizabeth, that changed his life. Basically, he was born again because of her. And he was doing changes in his life. But she was such a damn nitpicker that she couldn't see the changes that this guy was making. And she was never satisfied with anything that he did. But the time eventually came, and she saw what a scumbag the other guy, the sexual abusers, were. And what an honorable man this guy was. And the guy ended up abusing Elizabeth's little sister. And they had to pay the bribe, to keep the family name intact, and they had to bribe him into marriage. And the thing is with Darcy, without even asking, he arranged for the whole thing. He even put the money out. The point was that he held no grudge for the way he was mistreated by this woman. He felt no grudge, and he even extended a hand of friendship and a hand of help when the family needed it. And he wanted nothing in return. And and she saw it, and they eventually got married. But the point is that this is what Jehovah's Witnesses, you guys got to understand, is that, uh, all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses out there, they have that same thing in common. None of them are going to hold grudge against you for the way you've treated them. None of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are mad at you. They're trying to make changes in their personal lives too. They left Watchtower and they're free, and they left as just individuals and as righteous individuals, as men and women of integrity. But they're also continuing to make a lot of changes. And if you listen to all the videos of all the people out there on YouTube that are making videos, and you pay attention to how you listen, you'll see what Jesus says: from the abundance of the heart speaks the mouth. No one is trying to get you to be part of another church, well, except me, because I'm the founder of NOCACA, the National Organization of Congregation Against Cult Abuse. But I'm the exception. But everybody else is trying to get you to be a free person, to be a free thinker, to figure it out, to fly on your own. And yes, you're going to make mistakes, but you don't have to go to a committee of brothers. Everyone's out there, and if you need to, Marcus is putting his phone number out. That girl reaching out. Look at her name. She's reaching out to people that need that they may need just a little bit of a push in the right direction. But nobody is trying to retain ownership of individuals. Everyone is trying to encourage freedom. Whereas Watchtower is the other way around. They're trying to scare you that by saying that if you leave Watchtower, you're going to fall into a heathenistic trap of immorality, sex, and drugs, and rock and roll. And nothing can be further of the truth. And all you have to do is listen. And when you leave Watchtower, it's not easy. Look at the titles. Eric calls his video JW Struggle. There's a reason why he calls it Struggle, because it is a struggle. Mike and Kim, they call it JW Expose. What does that mean? It takes a lot of work to expose an organization like Watchtower. That's a lot of work. It's fitting that it's called JW Expose. Also, look at the Great Apostate. It's a play on words, and he's trying to do a balancing act, saying, yeah, guys, but I'm kind of getting a little depressed here, so let's bring a little comedy. And so let's bring a little lightheartedness. So he calls himself the Great Apostate. And the names are indicative of what the feelings out there of the Jehovah's Witnesses are. Son of Thunder, what does that tell you? He's mad as hell. He's mad as hell. And he's not going to take it anymore. Reaching out, a woman reaching out. And so there's a lot of names of the Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses out there, and they're indicative of the sentiments that Jehovah's Witnesses are going through, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. But they all have one thing in common. They all have an open door policy. And Darcy had that in that video clip. He always kept the doors of communication open. He didn't harbor no resentment. And when the time came and Elizabeth came to her senses, and she was able to see that men that sleep around and abuse women are not the kind of company you want to keep, well, she ended up marrying this guy, Darcy. Oh, let me just add this. The reason she married Darcy is because she got off her moral high horse. You see, Elizabeth was, she didn't sin. Everybody else is a sinner, but not her. And then she realized that, guess what? She was worse than Darcy. Just as bad as he was. She saw that she had the rafter in the eye. She was too busy looking at the straw in Darcy's eye. Elizabeth's sins was great, just like you, Jehovah's Witnesses. Your sins are great too. But you're focusing your attention on the apostates, and you're crying over what they're, the fight, the war that Anthony Morris has started, and you don't see your own errors. And I tell you what, the beautiful thing about the apostate side is, they know that there's a straw in their eye, and they're working towards it. And so, Elizabeth, get off your moral high horse. You're not the only, you're not pure as the white driven snow. You're dirty too, just like all of us. And that's the lesson you can learn from that clip of and that story of Pride and Prejudice. And Darcy, didn't didn't even want to talk about the past. And he was a very forgiving man. And she lowered the bar to a human standpoint. See, she lowered the bar to and say, you know what? He's not perfect. But man, he's going in the right direction. And so that's the problem with Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, you set the bar so high that nobody can attain that bar. But I tell you that all of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that I see are struggling, are great, are exposing, are reaching out, are mad as hell, are sons of thunder. You know, are critical thinkers like the ex-JW critical thinkers. And we make mistakes, and we're going to continue making mistakes. But we're not going to fall into a heathenistic lifestyle. We're not going to be falling into drug abuse. And if we do, well, we're going to be there for each other. And the lines of communication are always going to be open. Now, in that clip, you know, there was shunning going on. And Darcy did do shunning. But it was good because it was only between two individuals. And when a third person, like Elizabeth, was trying to get involved in the shunning, it was none of her business. And he says, no, you know, this is between us two. Basically told her, you're not privy to know. But a just man is just, and he doesn't have to explain himself. He didn't have to explain to himself. And this is the thing. Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, you have nothing to explain. You just are faithful men. You are men and women of integrity. And so for you Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, you need to not believe the lies that Watchtower teaches when they try to scare you into thinking that if you're no longer part of their organization, that you're gonna fall into a life of destitution. Couldn't be further from the truth. And I'd like to just talk about that with other people. I mean, now that you're no longer part of a Jehovah's Witness organization, do you find that you're closer to God, you're closer to Jesus? I find that, you know. And also it helps me because it helps me love Jehovah's Witnesses more now than I ever have. And I also know what it means when it says God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten Son, for he who that believe in him may not die but have everlasting life. That God loves everybody, every single human being. There is no distinction. And before, as a Jehovah's Witness, I used to fall for that lie. And so this is just a reminder to I wanted to bring out that video clip because it really changed my life. And I wanted to highlight those points that you always forgive, always keep the doors of communication open, and that you are an honorable man and woman. You are a man and a woman of integrity. And you owe nobody an explanation other than God and his Son. But nobody else needs to know of your good deeds. And for the rest of you, stop putting other human beings in such the bar so high that they can never attain that stature. By doing so, you know, we ruin relationships, we ruin families, and we actually hurt ourselves. So that's just my 2 cents on that silly misconception of, you know, are all Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, drug addicts and and sex addicts, like Watchtower wants you to believe. I hope you like this this topic, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Making our religion safe again through the Trinity of Change. Start your own chapter of Kingdom Hall of Happy Apostates with new chapters starting as low as $19.14 a month. JW Crisis answers the question everybody wants to know. Are ex-JWs heathen, sex, and drug addicts? New light from JW Crisis.